After my rebirth, I took the initiative to put the divorce agreement in front of Zachary. He didn't even look at it and tossed it aside, saying, "I won't give you custody of our son." "I don't want custody." Zachary looked up. "Have you come to your senses?" "I have. In my previous life, I had been entangled with Zachary for most of my life because I couldn't bear to part with our son, until he grew up. But on the day of his wedding, he said in front of everyone, 'I hope my mom can support my dad and Aunt Yvonne. Aunt Yvonne has been with my dad for so many years, it hasn't been easy for her. I will never do my homework. You can't do anything to me.'" 8-year-old Ryan lay on the floor, throwing a tantrum, looking like I could do nothing to change his mind. Such scenes played out daily. I required him to finish his homework before he could play. I didn't allow him to watch TV for more than half an hour. I only allowed him to eat fried chicken and burgers once a week. I set many rules, hoping he would develop good habits. But these habits turned into a joke the day Yvonne appeared. He accused me, "Aunt Yvonne never makes me do my homework, she just takes me to play. Aunt Yvonne doesn't stop me from eating chicken legs, she says boys need to eat more to grow tall. I don't like you at all, I want Aunt Yvonne to be my mom." In my previous life, even though I felt hurt hearing those words, I still chose to forgive. I thought he was just too young to understand. When he grew up, he would comprehend my good intentions. I still encouraged him to study well and exercise, and eat healthily. As an adult, he graduated from a prestigious university, started his own company, and married a suitable wife. On the day of his wedding, when the host asked him to thank his parents, he stood in front of all the guests and said to me, "I hope you can support my dad and Aunt Yvonne. Aunt Yvonne has been with my dad for so many years, it hasn't been easy for her." Yvonne in the audience cried like a baby. It seemed that all the suffering she had endured over the years was worth it at that moment. Meanwhile, I stood on stage, feeling superfluous and ridiculous. "Mom, since I was little, you made me do things I didn't want to do. If it weren't for Aunt Yvonne quietly giving me warmth and encouragement, I would have ruined myself a long time ago. You and Dad have long lost the feelings of a married couple. Why do you still occupy this position and make everyone unhappy?" I didn't know how I stumbled out of Ryan's wedding in a daze. I only knew that after leaving the hotel, I was hit by a car for running a red light and then unexpectedly gained a rebirth. Looking at my mischievous son at this moment, I nodded, "Okay, no homework." Ryan, who was lying on the ground, looked a bit surprised and raised his head to look at me. "Are you serious?" "Of course," I said calmly. "Can I watch TV now?" "Not only can you watch TV, but you can also play on the tablet." "Can I eat chips while I play?" Ryan asked, pushing his luck. "Whatever you want." "Why are you suddenly so nice to me?" Ryan asked in surprise. I smiled but said nothing. A wolf that can't be raised properly doesn't deserve my sincerity. "Are you afraid that I will only like Aunt Yvonne in the future and not like you?" Ryan said proudly. "In the future, whatever you want, I will support you," I said deliberately. "Including your favorite Aunt Yvonne." After satisfying all of Ryan's unreasonable demands, he became more and more unruly. The first thing he did after school was play on the tablet. He played during meals. He insisted on holding the tablet while sleeping and wouldn't let it go. If he played too late at night and couldn't wake up, I wouldn't wake him, letting him sleep in. If he wanted to go to school when he woke up, he could go. If he didn't want to go, I wouldn't force him. I allowed him to eat whatever snacks he liked. The servants couldn't stand it anymore and kindly advised me, "Madam, if you spoil the young master like this, you're ruining him." "How could that be?" I said sarcastically. "Forcing him to do things he doesn't like is what ruins him." However, this kind of child didn't last long. Ryan's unusual behavior soon displeased the school. His homeroom teacher called me, saying Ryan was confrontational in class and had said, "My parents don't care about me, why should you?" "I'm sorry, I really can't manage him. If there's anything, please contact my husband." I gave the teacher his number. Then I hung up the phone and continued with my beauty treatment. By the time I finished my beauty treatment and returned home, I saw Zachary, who rarely came home, in the hall. His face looked extremely grim, and his voice was filled with sarcasm. "Stella, your methods are getting better and better. To get me back, you even started to use our son." I really did want Zachary to come back. After all, calling him was completely useless. I could no longer remember when my relationship with Zachary had turned so antagonistic. We were clearly in a free love, willingly married, sharing joys and sorrows, and starting a business together. After the company stabilized, I stepped back, choosing to stay home as a housewife and raise our child. I had invested too much energy in our son, and when I realized Zachary was acting strangely, he had already emotionally strayed. The other party was a 20-year-old intern from the company, Yvonne. Youthful, energetic, and tender. I accidentally saw the chat messages between Zachary and her. Zachary said, "You remind me of my wife when she was young. She was as beautiful and lovely as you." "And now?" Yvonne asked, sending a curious and cute emoji. "Now she has become unappealing. Sometimes when I try to be affectionate with her, I feel a bit nauseous." I never expected to be viewed this way by Zachary. That time, I caused a huge scene. I felt my self-esteem had been insulted like never before and insisted on divorcing him. Zachary didn't agree. He explained that he was just teasing a young girl and told me not to overreact. Our parents came to persuade me as well, saying that our child was only 2 years old and that I shouldn't hold a grudge against Zachary this time for the sake of the child. Zachary also swore that he wouldn't have any further contact with Yvonne and immediately fired her to show his loyalty to me. Moreover, at that time, Zachary hadn't actually had a physical relationship with Yvonne. So in the end, I chose to forgive him. I even began to reflect on whether I had indeed been so focused on our child that I neglected Zachary and myself. When I tried to change, Zachary ended up being unfaithful. When I received the photos Yvonne sent of her and Zachary in bed, I was in the hospital taking care of a feverish Ryan. Ryan suddenly had a high fever and convulsions. After rushing him to the hospital, I called Zachary. He impatiently replied, "Enough, Stella. I'm just out for a business dinner, stop making excuses to get me back." Alone in the hospital with Ryan, I received those explicit photos from Yvonne in the middle of the night. She said, "Zachary always says you're ugly even after losing weight, and that I'm cuter and more delicate than you." At that moment, I realized that a man cheating is just cheating, with no distinction between emotional and physical infidelity. I proposed divorce again. This time, Zachary didn't refuse, but he insisted that Ryan must stay with him. To me, at that time, Ryan was my entire life. I poured all my love into him. He was only 3 years old, and all he saw and thought of was me. Without me by his side, he wouldn't sleep even if he cried until dawn. I couldn't leave him behind. I had considered going to court for custody of the child, but I hadn't worked for years and couldn't compete with Zachary. Our marriage remained entangled like this. He never gave up custody, while I insisted on having it. As Ryan grew older, I seemed to have adapted to this shabby marriage. Sometimes, habits can be terrifying. I hated Zachary's infidelity, yet I ended up living with him for so many years. Fortunately, fate gave me a chance at rebirth. I opened the drawer and calmly handed the divorce agreement to Zachary. The moment he saw the agreement, he laughed mockingly. "Stella, I thought you'd come to your senses. You haven't made a scene in a long time, and now you're starting again? What do you want? Is the money I give you every month not enough?" "Not enough," I replied. "How much do you want?" Zachary asked generously. "Half of the company's assets." "What are you thinking, Stella? Have you lost your mind?" Zachary exploded with anger. "The company was founded together, it's marital property. I've consulted a lawyer, and half of it rightfully belongs to me." "And then?" Zachary said impatiently. "Unless you're divorcing me, this is all marital property. So am I not getting a divorce now?" I indicated for him to look at the divorce agreement. Zachary sneered, casually tossing the agreement aside. "I won't give you custody of our son. I don't want it anymore." Zachary looked up. "You've come to your senses?" "I have." Zachary impatiently took the divorce agreement back and began reading it carefully. Besides what I was entitled to, I didn't ask for anything extra. At the same time, I voluntarily gave custody of Ryan to Zachary. Zachary furrowed his brows tightly, putting the agreement down. Stella, don't regret it. Voluntarily giving up custody means you can't see our son without my permission. I know. Once we divorce, I can never remarry you, not even for our son, Zachary threatened. Just sign. I didn't want to waste time arguing with him. If I hadn't been unable to see him for so long, the first thing I would have done after my rebirth was to divorce him. Seeing my resolute attitude, Zachary signed his name elegantly. Stella, this is all you're doing. If it weren't for how you've acted, given our son and the many years we've spent together, I would have let you be Zachary's wife for a lifetime. It's you who didn't know how to cherish it. Who cares? I said nonchalantly. In my previous life, maintaining a marriage with Zachary was never about wanting to be Mrs. Zachary. It was purely a bond of blood. Clean up your things and get out of my house. Zachary threw the signed divorce agreement at me. I had already packed my luggage and was just waiting to divorce him. I turned and went upstairs. Ryan had also come back from school with Zachary. The teacher told him to reflect at home for 2 days before returning to school. He had been hiding in a corner, eavesdropping on my conversation with Zachary. When he saw me leaving, he hurried to catch up with me. Are you really going to divorce Dad? Ryan asked me. Are you happy? I said casually while dragging my luggage. There won't be anyone to control you anymore, you can do whatever you want. Aren't you afraid that after you divorce Dad, no one will want you anymore? Who told you that no one wants me? I laughed at him. Grandma and Dad both said that, Ryan replied earnestly. They said you don't deserve Dad, and that after you divorce him, no one will want you. You're just too scared to divorce him. I couldn't help but laugh. I had long seen through what kind of person Zachary was. I didn't expect his mother to be like this as well. She usually pretended to be nice, telling me in front of me that her son was wrong in this or that way, and that I was working hard taking care of the child. But behind my back, she treated me like a nanny for her grandson. Of course, it didn't matter anymore. They would all be unimportant people in the future. As long as you really don't care about me anymore, and you don't care about Dad and Aunt Yvonne, I will help you plead with Dad not to divorce you, Ryan bargained with me. No need, I gently patted his head and said, just take care of yourself in the future. Because from now on, his growth would have nothing to do with me anymore. I dragged my 2 large suitcases out without looking back. I moved to the well-furnished apartment I had found in advance, near a university. I was preparing for the postgraduate entrance exam to further my education. Zachary and I were college classmates. To support him in starting a business, I gave up my qualification for further studies. Later, when the business succeeded and we had our son, I shifted my focus back to the family. I always had a regret in my heart for not being able to pursue my master's or doctoral degree. In this rebirth, I deeply realized that one must live for oneself. No one will empathize with you. The day after I moved out of the Zachary family villa, I saw Yvonne had posted on her social media. She had added me first. At the company's anniversary celebration, I attended with Zachary. Yvonne said my earrings were beautiful, so she added me and asked for the link. Later, Yvonne really got a pair of earrings just like mine, but she didn't buy them herself. They were a gift from Zachary. And today, her post read, "Poverty limits my imagination. Is such a big backyard meant for playing soccer?" With a photo of the backyard of the Zachary family villa attached. The obvious purpose was to announce to the world that she was now openly together with Zachary and was no longer the secret mistress. I liked their post with a quick tap. Match made in heaven, lasting forever. I had just liked the post when Yvonne privately messaged me, "Sister Stella, you wouldn't mind me posting this on social media, would you?" Zachary insisted that I post it, saying he has made me suffer for so many years. To provoke me, Yvonne would sometimes send me intimate photos of her and Zachary or write about how much he loved her, then time it to delete the post. She would add, "Sorry, wrong send." I had indeed been provoked by her to the point of losing my rationality, leading to huge fights with Zachary. The result was that my relationship with Zachary deteriorated even further. He rarely returned home, even when it was Ryan's birthday. He took Ryan to celebrate with Yvonne instead. Each time Ryan went to Yvonne's place, he would say, "Aunt Yvonne is so nice to me, she is gentle and beautiful. I want her to be my mom." Looking back, I don't even know how I endured that in my previous life. Fortunately, I was deeply hurt, so I had no lingering feelings. I smiled and replied, "Why would I mind? Didn't I just give you a like? You're doing this to show Zachary, right?" Yvonne assumed I was only divorcing Zachary out of anger. I didn't want to engage with her anymore. There was no need to waste time on someone like her. Just as I was about to block Yvonne, she sent another message. "There's something you forgot to take with you." That was impossible. I checked every day, and there was no way I had left anything behind. Yvonne then sent a photo. It was a box of condoms. I replied casually, "I'm giving it to you. They're all expired." Yvonne sent a laughing emoji. It added, "The ones from a few years ago were never used? Zachary uses several every day when he's with me. I can't even keep up with buying them." "Then that's great, isn't it? I don't want the trash, and you like to recycle it. That's called waste utilization," I said calmly. "Who are you calling trash?" Yvonne was instantly enraged by my words. As she was furiously typing, I directly blocked her. Out of sight, out of mind. After blocking Yvonne, my social media felt much cleaner. Without outside distractions, I fully devoted myself to preparing for my exams. Until a month later, I suddenly received a call from Zachary. He immediately asked, "Stella, where have you been hiding? If you don't want a divorce, why are you pretending? It's too late now." I then remembered today was the last day of the divorce cooling off period. I had to go to the Civil Affairs Bureau to get the divorce certificate. "I'll be right there," I said. After hanging up, I didn't dare to delay for a second and stepped on the gas directly to the Civil Affairs Bureau. When Zachary saw me arrive, he had a mocking smile on his face. Previously, when we went to the Civil Affairs Bureau to register for divorce, we had agreed to meet at 10 o'clock this morning. It was now 12 o'clock, and the Civil Affairs Bureau staff had already finished for the day. Zachary sneered, "Stella, I told you when you made me sign the divorce agreement that it would be useless to regret later. What tricks are you trying today? We must get a divorce." "Fine," I answered without hesitation. "I should thank you. If you hadn't taken the initiative to step aside, I wouldn't have known Yvonne could take care of children at such a young age. When you were taking care of our son, the house was a mess, but ever since Yvonne came, our son has been so well behaved," Zachary boasted. "Congratulations on marrying such a good wife." Still talking back, Zachary scoffed, "Let's see how long you can hold out." The moment I received the divorce certificate, I let out a huge sigh of relief. I was really worried that if I delayed, Zachary would lose patience and just walk away. I didn't want to waste another second of my time on him. "Stella." Zachary called out loudly behind me as I was walking away quickly. "From now on, we'll have nothing to do with each other. If you regret it." I drove away, not wanting to hear another word from him. After regaining my freedom, I felt more motivated to study. Every day, besides working hard to read, I also made sure to exercise. I couldn't let myself be riddled with problems like in my previous life. After more than half a year of relentless effort, I finally succeeded. During this time, Ryan had called me, hesitantly asking, "Mom, do you miss me?" I answered honestly, "No, because Mom is very busy." "Today is my 9th birthday," he sounded a bit down. "Happy birthday," I smiled as I wished him well. "Don't you want to celebrate with me? Dad said that I can't see you without his permission. Can't you just ask Dad?" Ryan sounded a bit agitated. "No. Why do you have to be stubborn with Dad? Actually, Dad, I'm not discussing this anymore. I have something very important to do." I hung up on Ryan. This was something that would have never happened before. Every time we talked, I had to wait until he hung up before I could put my phone down. "See? There's really nothing that can't be let go of. As long as you're disappointed enough. One late night after I started my graduate studies, I suddenly received a call from Zachary. I hadn't blocked him because I thought he would never reach out to me. In fact, it had been over a year since our divorce, and he had indeed been a qualified ex. It was like he was dead to me. Still half asleep, I didn't even check who was calling. Hello. Stella, I won't give you another chance. Zachary's cold voice came through the line. Huh? I was confused. Was he possessed? Yvonne is pregnant with my child. I'm going to marry her, he said proudly. Congratulations. Although being woken up in the middle of the night was annoying, I still politely offered my wishes. Humph! Zachary seemed to scoff a little before hanging up on me. I didn't take it seriously at first. If it weren't for receiving Zachary and Yvonne's wedding invitation later, I might have thought it was a mistake. But the invitation had my name on it. Of course, just because they invited me didn't mean I had to go. I threw the invitation straight into the trash. The result was that day when Ryan called me, Mom, why haven't you arrived yet? Arrived where? I didn't immediately catch on. At Dad and Aunt Yvonne's wedding hotel. I never said I was coming. But didn't Dad send you an invitation? I came early to reserve a spot for you. Why aren't you coming? Ryan's voice was already trembling with tears. I felt no wave of emotion and simply said, I have my own things to do and can't come. Thank you for saving me a spot, now let someone else have it. With that, I planned to hang up. Is that more important than me? Ryan asked, panicking. I thought for a moment and answered seriously, yes, it's more important than you. You are no longer important to me at all. After refusing my son, Zachary called me again. Stella, are you uncomfortable with me marrying Yvonne? Is it interesting to take your anger out on our son? What? I was perplexed. What did you just say to our son? He's been crying ever since. I didn't scold him, I explained. Stop making excuses. You just can't stand seeing me marry Yvonne, so you're taking it out on our son. At that moment, I was speechless. Admit it? Zachary said coldly when I didn't respond, it's too late now. Regretting won't help. I wish you and Yvonne a happy marriage. After hanging up, I blocked Zachary as well. I thought that after Zachary married Yvonne, we would have no further interactions. But less than a month later, Zachary suddenly appeared at the gate of a university. I had just come out of the lab, leaving the school with my senior. We were discussing the data from our lab all the way. Suddenly, I saw Zachary waiting for me at the gate with Ryan. How did he know I was studying for my master's? The moment Zachary saw me, his gaze fell on the person next to me. I seemed to catch a glimpse of some anger in his eyes, or perhaps it was just an illusion. He said sarcastically, I was wondering why you didn't want our son anymore. So you have a new partner. Stella, does your new guy know you were married and have a son? I know. Before I could speak, my senior, Oliver, answered for me. I heard her ex-husband is a jerk. Do you know him? I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Zachary's face turned dark. He said coldly, I'm here to see Stella about something. That was his way of telling Oliver to leave. Oliver ignored him and asked me, are you in trouble? No, I smiled at him, you can head back. I'll get home by myself later. If you need anything, call me. I can help you report it to the police. Okay. Oliver left. After leaving, are you having a hard time letting go? Zachary mocked. I shifted my gaze back to him and asked, what do you want to talk about? Is it fun to block me? Zachary countered. What's the point of keeping someone who doesn't matter? I said indifferently, did you really abandon your son? I glanced at Ryan. Ryan was looking at me with hopeful eyes. I smiled and said, he didn't want me. I respect his choice. I didn't abandon you, Ryan quickly spoke up, I want to be with you forever. I walked toward Ryan, noticing he had gained quite a bit of weight. I smiled and said, did you forget? You said with your own mouth that you wanted Aunt Yvonne to be your mom. Now that she really is, shouldn't you be happy? Ryan's eyes turned red, and he bit his lip, looking distressed. Zachary no longer beat around the bush, Yvonne is pregnant and has pregnancy syndrome, which makes her easily angered. The doctor said she needs a quiet environment to nurture the baby. So for now, our son will stay with you. But I'm very busy. The workload in the lab is huge, and I don't have time to take care of him. I also need to prepare for my doctoral exams, I said, feeling conflicted. Is reading a stupid book more important than your son? Zachary got angry at my words. What's the use of a degree at your age? How much money can it earn? The assets I divided are more than enough for you to live on for the rest of your life. Stella, what are you pretending for? I didn't want to argue with Zachary. But some people really can take advantage of kindness easily. Taking a deep breath, I asked him, Zachary, after so many years together, have I ever done anything wrong to you? Why are you suddenly bringing this up? Zachary sounded agitated. I've never done anything wrong to you. I have always been dedicated to you, to our son, and to our family. Now that we're divorced, the custody was something you insisted on. Our son said he prefers Yvonne. I facilitated all of you. Now I'm living my own life. Am I wrong? When did I say you were wrong? Then why do you come to question my pursuit of a master's and doctoral degree? Isn't this a critical time? Can't you sacrifice a little for your son? Zachary said as if it was obvious. Sacrifice? I asked him with a cold laugh. Why is it always me who has to sacrifice? When we graduated from college, you said you needed me to help you start a business and let me sacrifice my qualifications for further studies. Later, after the business was successful, we had our son, and you asked me to sacrifice my career to return home. Then after our divorce, I also did as you wished and sacrificed custody of our son. The more I spoke, the more I found it amusing. Now that you have a new family and don't want our son anymore, you want me to sacrifice myself for your happiness. Zachary, don't you think that's shameless? When did I say I didn't want our son? I said that during Yvonne's pregnancy, I needed you to help me take care of him temporarily. I'll pay you double the child support. Zachary was clearly losing his composure, and his emotions were becoming increasingly agitated. What if Yvonne suffers from postpartum depression after giving birth? What if she becomes neurotic after recovering from depression? There are so many illnesses in the world, there's bound to be one or two that suit her, I lightly mocked. Yvonne isn't that kind of person, she treats our son very well, as if he were her own, Zachary said firmly, clearly catching my implication. If that's the case, how can our son affect Yvonne's pregnancy? Isn't that contradictory? Zachary was left speechless. He fell into silence. Ryan suddenly asked me with distress, Mom, do you really not want me anymore? He was already 10 years old, and he could understand many things now. I don't want to abandon you. It's just that since you have Aunt Yvonne as your new mom, I feel at ease, I said gently to Ryan. In the past, to ensure Ryan could study well, I always played the role of the bad guy. Now that I had no expectations of him, I wouldn't say a harsh word again. But Ryan seemed unsatisfied. He said, Mom, don't smile at me like that. When you smile like that, I feel like you don't love me anymore. I patted Ryan's head and said, how could I not love you? I just don't want you to do things you don't like, so you won't ruin your future. Enough, Stella. Zachary didn't want to listen to my sarcasm anymore and probably felt his pride was hurt. After all these years, he had never suffered any setbacks with me. As he angrily pulled Ryan away, he didn't forget to threaten me. Since you don't care about our son, I won't ask you for help anymore. Don't expect our son to recognize you in the future, I shrugged, showing that I didn't care. After all, no matter how I treated him, when he grew up, he wouldn't recognize me. He would only acknowledge his Aunt Yvonne. Why should I go through that? I wasn't suffering. I seriously focused on living the life I wanted. Even if every day was exhausting. But I was very happy and had a sense of achievement. I realized that taking good care of myself truly allowed me to live well. However, occasionally, I was disturbed by others. Today, after finishing a set of experimental data, I looked at my phone, which I had muted, showing a dozen missed calls from unknown numbers. I called back, and the person who answered was Zachary. The tension in the hospital room was palpable. I had hesitated when Zachary called, informing me that Ryan had been injured, but ultimately, I couldn't ignore the fact that he was my son. As I approached the ward, I overheard a heated argument inside. "Zachary, how long are you going to keep your son here? If you don't send him away soon, I swear I'll die here with him, and it'll be a double tragedy," Yvonne screamed. "I've told you, Ryan doesn't have a problem with you. Why can't you just leave him alone? He's just fallen down the stairs and broken a bone, and you show no concern at all." Zachary's voice was equally loud. "So you want to see me fall down the stairs too, right? If I die, then you'll have the excuse to reconcile with Stella and be a happy family again." "Enough, Yvonne. Stop making a scene here, Ryan needs to recover." Zachary's patience was wearing thin. "Then let me show you how I can really make a scene," Yvonne shot back. "I'll either get rid of him, or I'll jump off the building with my baby. Ryan is just 10 years old. Where do you expect him to go?" Zachary's voice trembled with anger. "I don't care. I just don't want to see him again," Yvonne insisted, her resolve firm. "Otherwise, you can wait for a double tragedy." With that, she stormed out, and we collided right outside the door. Seeing me seemed to stun Yvonne for a moment. I couldn't help but notice how much she'd changed. She was no longer the slender girl I remembered. Now, with her pregnant belly, she looked like an expectant mother far beyond her years. "Stella, what are you doing here?" she snapped, clearly on edge. "I'm here to see Ryan. Zachary mentioned he was hospitalized," I replied, trying to keep my composure. "Are you here to check on Ryan or to flirt with Zachary while I'm pregnant?" Yvonne accused. I rolled my eyes at her dramatics. I hadn't seen her in 2 years, but I had heard stories from mutual friends about her behavior since finding out she was having a boy. Apparently, she'd become a nightmare, accusing any attractive female employee at Zachary's company of trying to seduce him and demanding their resignations. Get lost. After all, no matter how I treated him, when he grew up, he wouldn't recognize me, he would only acknowledge his Aunt Yvonne. Why should I go through that? I wasn't suffering. I seriously focused on living the life I wanted. Even if every day was exhausting. But I was very happy and had a sense of achievement. I realized that taking good care of myself truly allowed me to live well. However, occasionally, I was disturbed by others. Today, after finishing a set of experimental data, I looked at my phone, which I had muted, showing a dozen missed calls from unknown numbers. I called back, and the person who answered was Zachary. The tension in the hospital room was palpable. I had hesitated when Zachary called, informing me that Ryan had been injured, but ultimately, I couldn't ignore the fact that he was my son. As I approached the ward, I overheard a heated argument inside. "Zachary, how long are you going to keep your son here? If you don't send him away soon, I swear I'll die here with him, and it'll be a double tragedy," Yvonne screamed. "I've told you, Ryan doesn't have a problem with you. Why can't you just leave him alone? He's just fallen down the stairs and broken a bone, and you show no concern at all." Zachary's voice was equally loud. "So you want to see me fall down the stairs too, right? If I die, then you'll have the excuse to reconcile with Stella and be a happy family again." "Enough, Yvonne. Stop making a scene here, Ryan needs to recover." Zachary's patience was wearing thin. "Then let me show you how I can really make a scene," Yvonne shot back. "I'll either get rid of him, or I'll jump off the building with my baby. Ryan is just 10 years old. Where do you expect him to go?" Zachary's voice trembled with anger. "I don't care. I just don't want to see him again," Yvonne insisted, her resolve firm. "Otherwise, you can wait for a double tragedy." With that, she stormed out, and we collided right outside the door. Seeing me seemed to stun Yvonne for a moment. I couldn't help but notice how much she'd changed. She was no longer the slender girl I remembered. Now, with her pregnant belly, she looked like an expectant mother far beyond her years. "Stella, what are you doing here?" she snapped, clearly on edge. "I'm here to see Ryan. Zachary mentioned he was hospitalized," I replied, trying to keep my composure. Are you here to check on Ryan or to flirt with Zachary while I'm pregnant? Yvonne accused. I rolled my eyes at her dramatics. I hadn't seen her in 2 years, but I had heard stories from mutual friends about her behavior since finding out she was having a boy. Apparently, she'd become a nightmare, accusing any attractive female employee at Zachary's company of trying to seduce him and demanding their resignations. Get lost. Ethan stared at me without blinking. If I work hard, can you give me another chance? Zachary, if you dare betray me, I'll show you what I can do. You better deal with your son, or we're going to have a problem. Yvonne warned, turning to leave. Zachary was shaking with anger. I stood by, feeling like an observer in a comedy. Do you think I deserve this? He asked me suddenly. I suppressed a smirk. I don't judge things that don't involve me. I didn't expect Yvonne to change so much after getting pregnant, he muttered. I have no interest in your relationship with her, I reminded him. I'm only here to see my son. Zachary fell silent, and I stepped into Ryan's room. He lay on the hospital bed, his eyes red from crying. He had clearly heard the argument. When he saw me, his face lit up. Mom! He exclaimed excitedly. I nodded, but my enthusiasm was lacking. I simply asked about his condition. Ryan recounted how, on the way home from school, he had encountered Yvonne, who he claimed had pushed him down the stairs. Yvonne, however, insisted that he had tried to hurt her baby and that it was an accident. Ryan's voice trembled as he spoke about Yvonne's behavior. She's really mean to me. She always pretends to be nice, but since she married Dad, she just hits me and calls me a wild child. She forces me to eat junk food. As he continued to cry, I remained calm. You shouldn't tell me this. You need to talk to your dad or your grandmother about it. They don't believe me. They only trust Yvonne. They don't care about me anymore. Ryan sobbed, desperately clutching my hand. Please, Mom, let me go with you. I'll be good. I'll never say anything bad about you again. You're the only one who loves me. I gently pushed his hand away, maintaining a distance. Ryan, you have to take responsibility for your choices. When you chose Yvonne as your new mom, I exited your life. But I regret it. I know I was wrong. If you regret it, then you need to change, not try to change me, I stated calmly. My life will not change for anyone, especially not for you or Zachary. I walked out of Ryan's room, feeling detached. I couldn't forgive him, nor had I ever considered it. Stella, how could you be so heartless? Ryan is your own son. You really don't care about him anymore? Don't you feel guilty? Zachary confronted me at the door. I paused, collected my thoughts, and replied, first, I'm fulfilling my responsibilities as a mother by providing child support each month as per our divorce agreement. Second, as Ryan's father, it's your responsibility to ensure he has a stable home environment. Lastly, our marriage ended because of your infidelity. You have no right to judge my commitment to Ryan. The one who truly owes him an apology is you. Zachary's face flushed with anger, unable to counter my points. Zachary seemed to muster an enormous amount of courage as he asked, Stella, do you want me to apologize to you? I looked at him, bewildered. You're doing this to make me admit I regret marrying Yvonne and leaving you. Fine, I'll admit it. I shouldn't have been seduced by Yvonne. I shouldn't have let her destroy our relationship and marriage, and I shouldn't have divorced you. Zachary's regret felt so pompous, almost arrogant. I promise you, once Yvonne has the baby and the law allows me to divorce her, I'll come back to you right away. I remained silent, shocked into speechlessness. I couldn't believe someone could be so shameless, to say such things with such entitlement. I know you've been single for the past 2 years, Zachary continued. You're improving yourself and keeping fit so that I would see and regret losing you. So you think my life now is all about you? I couldn't help but laugh. Stella, we're not young anymore. There's no need for all this back and forth. You should just take the opportunity I'm giving you. I really don't have the patience for this. He went on, I have a big flat. You and Ryan can move in there for now. Once I'm divorced from Yvonne, I'll let you move back into the villa. I didn't respond, I just stared at him, incredulous. What are you laughing at? Happy? Zachary snapped, irritated. I'm laughing because I can't believe how shameless you are. Stella. He exploded with anger. I don't know where you get the confidence to think I'd remarry a reckless man who has affairs and is so arrogantly self-important. Am I crazy? You'd better think carefully about what you're saying. Stella, I'm giving you a chance to come back for the sake of our son. Don't push your luck. Such a good opportunity? You can save it for someone else, I can't afford it. I added firmly, I don't even want it. Stop being sarcastic, he said, barely concealing his fury. You don't really believe that with a 10-year-old child and in your 30s, any man would want you, do you? They're just playing around. No man would seriously marry a woman like you. You managed to get married again, didn't you? I retorted. Men and women are not the same. A man can have a second chance, but a woman? His contempt was palpable. So this was why Zachary felt free to cheat repeatedly during our marriage. He truly believed he could get away with anything. I don't need to be concerned about that. Even if no man wants me for the rest of my life, I won't ever consider you again. I rejected him outright. Before he could say anything, I continued. Who says a woman needs a man to survive? Why can't I be happy on my own? I'm perfectly capable of living well on my own. Why should I have to serve someone? I can spend my own money and enjoy my life. Am I missing limbs? Do I need a man to survive? Zachary's face flushed with embarrassment as I spoke. I found the whole situation increasingly amusing. I chuckled and walked away, utterly baffled that, in this day and age, his misogynistic attitude was still so unabashedly accepted. I must have been out of my mind in my previous life to have tolerated him for so long. After that unpleasant encounter with Zachary, he didn't pursue me again. I successfully stayed at school to continue my PhD and explore the academic world I loved. At a university reunion, I initially didn't want to attend, but my former roommate insisted, assuring me that Zachary wouldn't be there due to family issues, so I agreed to go. During the dinner, a classmate couldn't hold back and gossiped. Did you know that Zachary's little wife almost killed him? He glanced at me, asking, Stella, you don't mind us talking about your ex-husband, right? You just called him my ex-husband, what's there to mind? I replied with a smile. Then I don't care, the classmate continued eagerly. Zachary's wife is such a drama queen. She makes a scene at every opportunity, acting like she owns him just because she's having his baby. She's been making things so difficult for him at work that he's about to lose his company. The rest of the classmates listened intently, eager for more. The real kicker is that she's trying to kick Zachary's first son out of the house to make room for her child. But that's not even the biggest news. Another classmate interjected dramatically. Everyone was curious, urging him to spill the tea. The baby that just came out? Turns out, he's not even Zachary's biological son. Are you serious? No way. How did they find out? The classmates erupted with questions. The blood type test. The kid's O blood type, while Zachary's is AB. No way that kid could be his. Is Zachary furious? Isn't he being cheated on? One asked incredulously. Doesn't that mean she's taken him for a ride? Yeah. Apparently, he almost assaulted her out of anger. They're in the process of getting a divorce now, and he's about to pay a hefty price for it, the classmate laughed. As I listened, I couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction. My roommate nudged me, grinning, see? This gossip makes the reunion worth it. I nodded, it really did lighten my mood. However, just as the reunion was winding down, no one expected Zachary to walk in. When he arrived, everyone fell silent, feeling the tension in the air. Zachary asked casually, is it over? The class president replied quickly, yes, it's over. Sorry, I was a bit late, he said nonchalantly. No problem, let's all get together next time, the class president said. In the past, everyone would have made an effort to spend time with Zachary, but now they simply scattered. Zachary didn't say much either as classmates left one by one. I stood by the roadside, waiting for a cab since I had a few drinks and couldn't drive. I'll give you a ride, Zachary offered, rolling down his window. No thanks, I declined. Come on, it's on my way. I really don't need a ride, I insisted. But he got out of the car and walked over to me, and I pretended not to see him. You probably heard about how Yvonne played me, Zachary said, looking straight at me. I just found out, I said, not bothering to hide my amusement. I officially divorced Yvonne today, he announced. I didn't respond. After all, it was none of my business, and I had no interest in his life anymore. Last time, I didn't show enough sincerity, Zachary suddenly said in a low voice, sounding almost humble. I've actually regretted it for a long time. I just couldn't bring myself to ask you for forgiveness, he said. I looked at him, finding it laughable. So now you can lower your pride? Let me guess, you suddenly have no one else? I mocked. But isn't it true that men can change for the better? Stella, I admit I was a bit extreme before, but I didn't mean to hurt you, he said. I just didn't know how to get you back, so I resorted to provoking you, he explained helplessly. That's why I acted that way. Thanks for your provocation, it only made me feel more disgusted with you, I replied, watching his face turn red and pale in quick succession. Stella, I'm really sorry. I swear I won't do anything to hurt you again. Let's start over, you, me, and our son. The three of us can be a family again. Family of three? How dare he utter those words? Just hearing them made me feel sick. Come home with me, Zachary said, reaching out to grab my hand. I perfectly sidestepped his grasp. Feeling awkward, he said, our son is waiting for us at home. He's been wanting to see you and has regretted what he said to you in the past. Honestly, it's not just him, I regret it too. So, can you forgive us this once? I won't, I shook my head firmly. Stella. Why should I forgive you just because you regret it? What about everything I endured? What do you think all those experiences mean to me? I asked coldly. Is my lifetime of awakening nothing to you? What lifetime? Zachary seemed confused. I didn't need to explain. From the moment we divorced, everything between us ended. You don't need to waste your time looking for me, and you can't use our son as a bargaining chip. It won't work. Not only won't it work, but I also find you annoying because you're disrupting my life. Are you worried I won't truly change? Zachary asked. That has nothing to do with me. If I were you, I would be worried too, he said, sounding understanding. I'll show you I can change. Do I need to be any clearer? I won't get back together with you. You've been single all this time, haven't you? Zachary concluded, convinced that my being single meant I was waiting for him to improve. I was too exhausted to explain further. Zachary was far too confident, believing that as long as he turned back, I would undoubtedly wait for him. Let him be. One day, he would realize I had already moved on far beyond his reach. 6 months later, at a university centennial celebration, all alumni were invited to return. The school was buzzing with excitement. As an outstanding graduate, I stood on the stage in the grand auditorium, addressing a full house, including Zachary, who was probably in disbelief that I would be on such an impressive stage. Behind me, the large screen displayed all my achievements in academia over the years, accomplishments that would leave a permanent mark in the university's history. As my speech concluded, thunderous applause erupted around the auditorium. I could even hear someone shout, "You're amazing, senior." I smiled and bowed as I left the stage. Walking through the campus, numerous students approached me, asking for photos and autographs. After managing to fend off one group after another, I finally saw Zachary with a noticeably older Ryan approaching me. "Mom, I just saw your speech in the auditorium. I'm so proud of you. Everyone around me said you're incredible." Ryan exclaimed excitedly. I smiled faintly, offering a polite thank you, then turned to leave. "Stella," Zachary called out, sounding nervous. I turned to face him. He looked at me with surprise in his eyes, as if he couldn't comprehend when I became so different from the middle-aged woman who used to revolve around him and our son. "You were really amazing today. I never expected you to achieve so much in academia, he said sincerely. So you finally have some self-awareness? I asked, a mocking tone in my voice. Zachary's face flushed with embarrassment but quickly masked it, saying, I'm not trying to get back together with you because of your success. I've always wanted to reconcile, even before I knew about your achievements. I know you've always felt guilty about betraying me, he continued, his voice trembling as if he finally realized how far apart we had grown. The truth is, I've always loved you. My feelings for Yvonne were just a fleeting novelty and my vanity as a man. I never wanted to divorce you, my relationship with Yvonne was just a fling. I couldn't help but think that this was the biggest joke I had ever heard in this life or the last. But I didn't interrupt him. I fought for custody of our son because I didn't want to divorce you. I knew you couldn't bear to be apart from him. But I never expected you to give up your rights entirely, forcing me into a corner where I had no choice but to agree to the divorce. After the divorce, I never intended to be with Yvonne. I've always been waiting for you to come back. Every time I was with Yvonne, I took precautions. I never thought about letting her get pregnant. So, I should thank you for being so merciful, being with someone else but still having the decency to wear protection. Yvonne told me she was pregnant, and I didn't think much of it. I never suspected she would cheat on me. I thought maybe the precautions weren't effective enough. He paused for a moment, anger bubbling just beneath the surface. When Yvonne insisted on a commitment, I didn't agree. Do you remember that night when I called you? If you had just told me not to marry Yvonne, I wouldn't have agreed to it. But you didn't say anything, and out of anger, I ended up marrying her. Until the day I married Yvonne, I was still waiting for you to stop the wedding. If you had just come, I would have chosen you. But you didn't show up, and I had no choice but to marry Yvonne, Zachary lamented. Listening to Zachary's claims of love was truly difficult to evaluate. He continued, anguish evident in his voice. After marrying Yvonne, she went wild, making me a laughingstock in the business community. That's when I truly realized how good you were to me and how much you tolerated. I even wished I could divorce Yvonne immediately and be with you again. But she was pregnant, and legally I couldn't divorce her. I hoped you could wait for me. I even thought about using our son to win you back, but you kept rejecting me. Do you know how scared I was? I was terrified of never being able to get you back. Tears glistened in Zachary's eyes, but I found it utterly laughable. At that time, I had felt none of his fear. He still held a position of power over me. Later, Yvonne had a son, but he wasn't mine. Zachary said, his gaze filled with hope. Stella, I'm sorry for how wrong I was back then. From now on, if I ever hurt you again, I'll break my own legs. Mom, I promise to listen to you and never hurt your feelings again, Ryan chimed in, pledging alongside his father. I watched the father and son before me, taking in their remorse, their affection, their expectations. But I remained unmoved. Zachary, seeing my lack of reaction, pressed on. Stella, please come back to us. Let us make up for the pain we caused you. No need, I shook my head. I've already healed from those wounds. I don't need you, nor do I want you. Stella, Zachary, don't you think you no longer deserve me? I interrupted him, mocking his arrogance. Zachary hurriedly insisted, Stella, I love you for who you are, both the past you and the present you, regardless of your achievements. But why would I, now that I'm so accomplished, go back to picking up the pieces? I asked with a laugh, not giving him an ounce of dignity. His face flushed, probably out of shame, but he didn't give up. Stella, you've been single all this time, haven't you? So, my being single had become his misguided rationale for believing I would return to him? I smiled faintly, turning my gaze away. Just then, Oliver quickly stepped to my side and naturally wrapped his arms around me, clearly eager for my acknowledgement that he greeted Zachary and Ryan casually. Hey, ex-husband, and big son. Zachary's eyes narrowed at Oliver's hand around my waist. Stella, is it necessary to find some random man just to reject me? Not random, I said, cutting him off, having lost my patience. I've been single for years because I enjoyed being alone. Now, I'm not single because I think this man is wonderful, so wonderful that I want to start a new marriage with him. I watched Zachary's expression shift to one of disbelief as I delivered my final blow. So, whether I'm single or not has nothing to do with you. It's about my own choices. And you, in my heart, are nothing but a joke. With that, I embraced Oliver and walked away. As we were leaving, Oliver suddenly turned back and said, "Stella is pregnant with twins." I didn't turn to see Zachary and Ryan's reactions, but I vaguely heard Ryan's voice, choked with emotion, asking Zachary, "Dad, does Mom really not want us anymore?" "Yeah," Zachary replied, his voice subdued. "She really doesn't want us anymore, she gave up a long time ago." He was the one who had been deceiving himself all along.